What's your craziest stalker girlfriend or boyfriend story? Friend's ex. He owned a building firm and drove a pickup truck between jobs. Often, the back of the truck would be full of junk and rubbish for days until he got around to emptying it. He pulled into his driveway one evening, only to notice some movement amongst the rubbish. Further investigation revealed his somewhat clingy ex-by-3 months girlfriend, hiding under some sheets of wet cardboard. She had been there all day. He has no idea how many other days she had chosen to spend in that way. Edit, pickup truck, not flatbed. Sorry, I'm dumb truck. And yes, she was very much alive. This was not the limit of her crazy either, but most of the other stuff was standard stalker. First of all, she wouldn't stop messaging me. Then when I got a new girlfriend, current girlfriend, who she immediately started to stalk. So many tweets, Facebook statuses and messages all aimed at my girlfriend and I. I was obviously sick of it, so I told her to stop. That's when out of nowhere she threatened to report me to the police for rape and actually admitted to me that it was all because I had a new girlfriend that she was jealous of. All of this went on for about a month or so, and I really wanted it to stop, so I decided that I had to meet up with her and talk to her about the whole situation. As I met up with her, one of the first things she did was take off her jacket to show me her arms. You did this, etc. She had cut herself 137 times over her body and blamed it all on me. This was just under a year ago, and I haven't spoke to her since. Thank God. Didn't date him, but a guy I had classes with in college was always very friendly in class, talking to me quite a bit. He asked me out and I politely told him I was seeing someone. After a few weeks he sent a dozen red roses to me at work. I politely thanked him and explained, again, that I had a boyfriend. He seemed to back off for a while. Then, a couple of weeks later in class, he was talking about how he was interested in photography. He had taken several pictures and wanted me to see them. The first one was of me sitting at one of our school's baseball games. The next one was of my boyfriend, who was pitching at a baseball game. The last picture was of a dozen red roses on fire. That was the last time he spoke to me in class. Scary. I got tutored by this kid sophomore year in high school, about 5.5 years ago now. He is from another school, and to be honest, I have no idea how he knew I needed help with calculus, or how he got my number. Since he helped me, he's texted me almost every day, sometimes more than that, asking to hang out, or promising me orgies with hot girls. This became less frequent about a year ago. I finally thought he had started to leave me alone, when the texts started coming again this year. Within the last month, I got a text from him saying, "Hey, you climb right," ignored it. I climb at a local rock gym 3 to 4 nights a week. The next day, he is there. The same time I was. He wasn't with anybody either. He walks by me as I'm climbing and says, "I like your shirt." It was my brand new Harley Davidson shirt, because I just bought a new bike. He knew that I had just bought the bike, even though I'm not friends with him on Facebook anymore. I don't really know how to act because he isn't threatening, it's just so creepy. Edit, if it makes the story any different, I'm a guy. Edit 2, since a lot of you guys seem to be interested, I have some more details. I just checked on Facebook, and somehow he's my friend again. Also, last year, he pretended to be the same religion as me, and then texted me when he was masturbating. Often. I'm going to swallow my pride and admit that my craziest stalker story is about me acting like a raging bag of nuts as fuck. I was 21 and realized at the end of my first serious relationship, Elliot, it was long distance, but it had lasted 2 years, and I had dumbly been planning to move to the city he lived in, that my then boyfriend had been cheating on me for the last year we were together with a girl he went to school with. I found out through a friend of his, got it confirmed by the girl he was cheating with, and as soon as he found out I knew he turned off his phone and wouldn't answer a single call I made. Actually, if his phone was on he'd answer it and then hang up with no greeting or sound. So, I went batshead off the deep end. Called him 50x in a row, repeatedly. Texted him like crazy. Facebook messaged him. He responded 4 days later with a message about wanting to kill himself for hurting me. I freaked out and took it serious, and continued messaging him. I'd then periodically call him every so often just to see if he'd respond. I talked to his friends. I even contacted his mother. And about 9 months or so later I came out of it and realized I had been totally fucked over by a raging dickhead, and had also handed him all my self-respect on a silver platter. I just let my hurt turn me crazy. And it is totally the most embarrassing thing in my past. I sometimes wish I could talk to him and just say, "Hey, sorry about that. You're still a dick, though." But then I remember I'm blocked on every social media website out there, and I let it go and focus on being as crazy as possible to my current boyfriend. Do stalker stories count if you never dated the stalker in question? Hope so, because here I go. This one time, when I was in middle school, there was this girl who would message me all the time on MySpace. She lived pretty far away from me. Like, halfway across the country. Anyway, I had no interest in her. I was just being friendly. She was normal at first, but then things took a turn for the worst. Straight out of Fuckville, nowhere this girl starts telling me that she's cutting herself because I don't talk to her enough. Obviously, I tried to get her to calm down and stuff. Feeling guilty and scared, I continue messaging the girl, giving her the attention she was craving. Eventually this behavior suddenly stops, and she seems to have lost interest in me. Years later, probably like my junior year in high school, I'm walking down the hallway in my school, and lo and behold, there she fucking is. In my school. I promptly turned around and went the other way. A few days later I was at a football game standing with a group of friends. I see her approaching. I decided to just see what happens. She comes up and says hi or whatever, and we talk for a bit. Then some guy walks by and waves at her and says hi. She waves back to him, then turns to me and whispers, "Geez, what a stalker." Did my best not to laugh. My friends, on the other hand, did not. I went on one date with a guy on a vacation in California. We were both on cruise for films showing at a Hollywood film festival, and after we all went out as a big group. He asked me out to drinks after, and although I thought he acted a bit intense, he seemed like a pretty okay guy. I gave him my number and agreed to meet up later. During the date he started asking more and more personal questions, and started insisting he take me home. I politely ended the date and booked it out of there. Drove home, 2 states away, so not a drive to sneeze at, the next day, and received a text that same day from him saying he had driven to my town so that we could go on another date. He kept intermittently texting me for 3 years afterwards, although I never once responded. Edit. By take me home I meant he wanted to take me home with him. I dated this girl about 10 years ago. When I was 21, she was 20. Serious mental case. Some highlights. 2 weeks into the relationship, her grandmother passed away. She got furious with me because I couldn't attend the funeral. I had to work, and was told the day of the funeral that she wanted me to go. 1 month in she insists we celebrate our anniversary. I'm thinking, whatever. Take her out to dinner. She gives me a gift of a keychain with a picture of her as a baby on it and the inscription, "Love you forever." I broke up with her shortly after that. This followed by 4+ calls a day, and numerous texts over the next 4 months. Which would go back and forth from "I hate you" till "Why did you leave me? I love you. Please take me back." She had Sync and Backstreet Boys dolls all over her room. She had told me she wasn't a virgin when we met. Turns out she lied about that and I was her first. Found that out from an old friend of hers. Eventually had to change my email, phone number just to get her off my case. I still get the occasional friend request from her on FB. I broke up with my first girlfriend in sophomore year of high school, after I found out that she had cheated on me with 7 different guys and a girl. The next day I left for a road trip to the Grand Canyon to take some pics. I came back home a week later to find her in her grandmother's car in my driveway. She didn't have a license or anything. She then starts screaming at me about how I ruined her life, blah blah blah. I didn't really listen. Then, she threw her fracking dog at me. I loved that dog. It was a dachshund. For the next 2 weeks or so, she called or texted me every day to tell me how mad she was, and how much she hated me. Then one day, nothing. And for the next week, nothing, etc. I later found out that one of the guys she cheated with got her pregnant, and she dropped out. She surfaced again a year or so afterward and confronted me. She gained a good 200 pounds, shaved her head, and had track marks running all along her arms. Good thing I didn't stick it in crazy. This is 10 to 15 years ago. Not my ex-boyfriend, but my cousin's girlfriend at the time's ex. He would follow her everywhere because he wanted to be with her, but she wasn't interested. Her ex didn't like that she was seeing a new man, my cousin. One day my cousin dropped her off on the front steps of her workplace. I think she worked at a bank, but I don't remember. He drove away and thought nothing of it. He later received a phone call from the police that she had been killed on the steps of her workplace by her ex-boyfriend as soon as my cousin had driven out of sight. Her ex had been hiding in the bushes waiting for her. My cousin hung and killed himself a few weeks later because he couldn't deal with it. He felt like it was his fault for not waiting and watching her go inside. In all reality though, she probably would have been killed by her ex one way or another. This was in Toronto. I wish I could find an article. I may be fuzzy on the details. I was relatively young when it happened. Not really a boyfriend, just dedicated stalker. It started when I found out the guy was overly interested in me, and to his surprise I did not feel the same way towards him. When he asked me out I politely declined the offer and continued on through life. Flash forward a few months, while I am out chatting with a few lady friends at lunch, and there he is. Out of nowhere he just tears the chair out of the table we are sitting at and flings himself down. He then proceeds to spew a torrent of cuss words and violent emotions towards me. I, not having any clue to what is going on, just sit there and eat my handful of extreme cheese goldfish. He proceeds to say that I have been the rudest bitch that he has ever seen, and that it has been a rollercoaster of anger and sadness for him. He proceeds to tell me that he knows that I never answer his Facebook messages, as he looks at them every night, and this was after he unfriended me. Then he gets up, cusses a few more times, and walks off. I remained sitting there eating my goldfish, not really understanding what just happened. He still messages me on Facebook too. I had a guy who showed up in my college in between my classes. We went to colleges in 2 different cities, and this was only 2 to 3 days after the first date. He managed to figure out my entire class schedule from things I mention offhand like, oh, I have to wake up early tomorrow for my 8 a.m. class, or my French has gone downhill, I'm going to do so badly in that class. Reading my school's class requirements to figure out what the freshman required classes are. Going through every post on my FB wall to read posts from friends that gave him more clues on what classes I'm taking. Sneaking through my bag when I went to the bathroom while we were on a date, and to check out what I was reading when he arrived. Huge nerd. I carry study material everywhere. The fact that I asked for CALC help, and he found out I was taking CALC ill for engineering students, and it was a more advanced class than what he was taking. Going through my university's class list and map to figure out likely class combinations. I nearly screamed when I saw him there. Creepy guy. Wanted to dump him on the second date, but he pulled the I'm suicidal card, and I was young enough to buy it at that time. Lasted 3 painful months. One night I was with a group of friends and my boyfriend were at a bowling alley after a long day. I felt like someone was watching me and looked around, caught my ex's eye. I had broken all ties with this ex when a girlfriend of mine had caught him cheating on me, and I liked it that way, so I tried to ignore him. As time went on it became obvious that he was there alone. I thought that was strange considering I knew he had moved about an hour away from this particular place, and I hadn't posted that I was there on any form of social media or anything. I kept trying to ignore him, but he continued drinking and sitting closer. And closer. And closer to the group. My boyfriend was exhausted as we'd been playing kickball or something all day, and he was a tad grumpy and wasn't bowling. This super creepy, satisfied smile kept creeping up on my ex's face, as though he was delighted that my advances weren't cheering him up. He went back for another drink, and I finally told one of our friends in the group who he was and asked her to come with me so I could tell him off. We couldn't find him. It was completely bizarre. It's not so scary, as it is strange. My high school sweetheart and I dated up until senior year. The door on my house doesn't need a key, you can just put in a code to unlock it. So of course when I was young and stupid, I told him the code so he could just come in and out as he pleased. Which was fine while we were dating. We broke up in June, before senior year. It was probably about July, when a friend of mine called me to inform me that my ex-boyfriend was walking my dog. I confronted him about it, and he admitted to walking my dog about 5 times since we broke up. He did this when no one was home. We changed the code to unlock the door once I found that out. Then a few months later he got a new girlfriend, who he convinced to cut her hair so it looked like mine, and I guess wouldn't shut up about me. They dated for 2 years, before she dumped him and sent a page or 2 email to him explaining how his obsession with me was the reason she couldn't be with him any longer. I'm honestly just happy he didn't commit suicide or try to kill me. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.